comes to your mind when you think of Charles Manson? Insane? Cult leader? Some would argue that he is both. On August 8th through 10th, 1969, Los Angeles, California would experience one of the most cruel and gruesome murder sprees in modern American history. The actions of the Manson family will forever haunt America as a whole due to the heinous murders of 5 victims. In order to understand this, you will need to know who Charles Manson is, the motive behind the tragedy, and lastly, the outcome of the trial. Who is Charles Manson? Charles Maddox was born November 12, 1934, to his mother Kathleen Maddox, who was only 15 at the time. Charles did not have a very good relationship, or even a relationship at all, with his biological father. Charles gained his last name Manson from his stepfather William Manson. He did not have a beneficial upbringing whatsoever. His mother wanted nothing to do with her son, and even tried to sell him to another woman for a pitcher of beer. Charles' mother was sent to prison in 1939 for 5 years. During that time, Charles was sent to live with his aunt and uncle in West Virginia. After that, Charles did not have a stable home and bounced around a lot, but enjoyed visiting his uncle in Kentucky. Charles's uncle had a very lasting impression on him. He was an outcast who had odd beliefs, and once told Charles to avoid school because he would be brainwashed. When Charles was only 9, he set fire to his school and was since then sent to a reform school. He was sexually abused at that school and eventually escaped to find his mother, who had since been released from prison. Charles bounced around a lot to different boys' schools and was arrested for petty crimes off and on. When Charles was 20, he was sent to prison, and when he got out, he had several odd jobs, including pimping 16-year-olds, stealing cars, and forging checks. He ended up back in prison for 10 years for violating his probation. Charles really thought of prison like his home, and that is where he really gained his odd outlook on life. In 1967, Charles was released from prison and actually asked if he could stay. He truly did not want to go. He was then thrown into society mid-1960s, which happened to be the beginning of the hippie era. Charles actually loved this, and everyone loved him. He was charismatic and charming, and made people feel loved and heard. That is when his beloved family began. His first follower was Lynette Frum, whom said he was just so easy to talk to, and that his mind was just so intriguing to her. Soon after that, he met Pat Krenwinkel, whom Charles gained her trust with sex and intimacy, therefore leading her to believe anything he said, making it easy for her to be manipulated. Charles seemed to attract many young, impressionable women who were lonely and really had no one else to love them. That brings me to the next member of the growing family, Tex Watson. The tactic Charles used to attract men to the family was to offer them women. He gained everyone's trust in order to manipulate them, and succeeded. He convinced his members he was their savior, and that he was the Son of Man, parallel to his last name. He convinced his followers of Helter Skelter, based off the Beatles song, and morphed that meaning into his own. He convinced his followers of a race war in which African American communities would rise to power and overthrow whites. The Manson family would hide out in the desert until the race war was over. The members would do anything to help Helter Skelter, and that included murder. That brings me to the horrific 2-day killing spree the Manson family went on in order of Helter Skelter. Sharon Tate and her husband, Robin Polinsky, were the first 2 victims. Tex, Susan, Patricia, and Linda, all members of the family, got into the car and drove to 10500 Cielo Drive. At that address were Sharon Tate, 9 months pregnant, her husband, Jay Sebring, Rosh Markowski, and his girlfriend, Abigail Folger. Tex shot, stabbed, and beat Jay and Rosh. Susan Atkins then ran after Sharon Tate and killed her and her baby. Patricia Krenwinkel ran after Abigail Folger and then stabbed her 28 times. In order to spark Helter Skelter, Susan dipped a towel in Sharon Tate's blood, wrote "pig" on the front door, and "death to pigs" on the living room wall. Manson was very prideful whenever the members arrived home. However, to Charles Manson's dismay, Helter Skelter never arrived. But soon after, the crumbling of the Manson family did. After the murders, the family committed several petty crimes, going unscathed for the murdering spree. That was until Susan Atkins was in prison during a police raid. where she would then brag about the murders to her cellmate, and her cellmate ratted her out. Luckily, the police already had all the suspects in custody, fingerprints, and testimony from Susan Atkins. Tex Watson, Susan Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel were all charged for the murders they committed. According to New York Times, Amisha Punani, all Manson family members lived out the rest of their lives in prison. As for Charles, he was sentenced to life in prison until he died on November 19, 2017, due to the cardiac arrest. In conclusion, Charles Manson and his so-called family left a huge toll on America, and they will always be remembered for the horrific murders they committed and the rock-solid grip Manson had on his cult members. All in all, Manson had complete control on their lives, and it not only led to their downfall, but his as well. Thank you.